Time of Troubles. The Time of Troubles. When Ao cast out the gods from heaven, their avatars walked the earth, interacted with mortals, some more ruthlessly than others, and scrambled to find a way to return to their homes. Known as the Time of Troubles, the Gods' War, or the Avatar Crisis, this period in history of Faerun is the most chaotic in recent memory. Sudden mortality wreaked havoc on the deities. Mystra was destroyed and her essence merged with the land, causing magic to function erratically and creating many areas of wild and dead magic. Gond, the Wonderbringer, fell to earth as a gnome in the shores of Lantern. Grateful for the sanctuary offered by the city, he taught its citizens the secrets of smoke powder. Gunpowder. Tymora appeared at her temple in Arabel, and it is thought that her presence there spared the city from destruction. Ibrandil, god of caverns, was slain by Shar and his portfolio stolen. Alright, we're going to stop there for a second. So some of this is important. The deities of Faerun are ruled over by an over-deity named Ao. Yep, Ao. Alpha Omega. Beginning and the end. So Ao, the normal deities, the deities that everybody knows, were basically at a point where they were no longer paying attention to their worshippers. And Ao decreed that they would all be stripped of most of their powers and sent down to Faerun to walk amongst their followers, so they could better understand them. What happened was that a lot of the deities' avatars ran into each other, and things like this happened. So Gond brought smoke powder. He taught them how to make black powder. So all of a sudden you have guns, bullets, low-tech ones, but still, you have gunpowder, bullets, things like that. Tymora is the goddess of luck. So it was lucky that her presence was there and the city was spared. Tymora has a evil twin sister named Bishaba, who is the mistress of misfortune. In Faerun, people make a prayer to Bishaba to avoid bad fortune. Mystra is the goddess of magic. Always has been. Well, not always has been. She was, at this time, there were 2 or 3 Mistras. This one was killed, and another took up her place and took the same name. And then she was later killed, but reborn. Again as Mystra, but the same deity. More on that in a second. Tymora, Arabo. I don't know Brandel. Shar, however. Shar is important because Shar is the sister of Selune. Selune is the moon goddess. Shar is a goddess of darkness and suffering. Her plan is to eventually wipe out everything. Basically, she's a goddess of, suffering, the void, wanting nothing to exist. Now, when it says about Brandal's portfolio being stolen, the way the deities in Faerun work is they have what's called a portfolio. Basically, it's a sphere of influence over certain things, and all of these are written down in a book, a tablet that they can't change. That Ao watches over on occasion, but they can all see it. So if one god or one deity kills another, and they're the only one present, they can steal part of that deity's portfolio and change themselves, in essence. Which then can lead down to giving their followers more powers, different powers, things like that. So it's kind of a neat thing. Like in this case, this is also when you see. Was it during the Time of Troubles or before? When Kelemvor actually became a deity, as did Cyric, because the previous deity of the dead was Merkel, who loved his undead. He would have been happy for all of the world to become undead. The neat part is, like, so Mystra, that I was talking about earlier, goddess of magic. Every time so far, or at least in the recent past, every time that Wizards of the Coast, the makers of D&D, change the edition number of the tabletop game D&D. For example, Neverwinter Nights is written in 3rd edition rules. So of course before there was 2nd and original AD&D was in there too. This is 3rd edition rules. This is the introduction of AC instead of THAC0. THAC0 is super confusing if you've never heard of it and you're not going to play old D&D, don't worry about it. It's a table that's hard to memorize for most people. I never bother. This is AC, it makes more sense. Here's my armor, it adds this. Dexterity also adds to my AC, but is limited by my armor. For example, I'm wearing this split mail, which gives me an AC of 17, because it is a +7. Your base AC is 10. It gives me a +7, and I can have a max dexterity bonus of 2. So my attributes, let's say my attribute for dexterity is 16, would normally be a bonus of 13, or of +3. Because it's every 2 above 10 gives you +1 bonus. But in this case, for my AC, because of the armor that I'm wearing, I can only benefit from 2 of those 3 points. Those 3 points would still go into my reflex save, but it wouldn't benefit from armor. Anyway, so every time they change a version of D&D, the game, there is some big lore event. In this case, this was the Time of Troubles. The Time of Troubles was to go from 2nd edition to 3rd edition. So it changed the way that things work. It also introduced wild magic zones and dead magic zones. Or anti-magic zones. And these proceed a little bit farther on. At the end of 3rd edition, which is 1376-ish Dale Reckoning in Faerun, there is another event, which is the Spell Plague. Now the Spell Plague, Mystra is killed. So when Mystra dies, even though it's temporary, it only lasts for 100 years. Temporary. When Mystra dies, the magic, because she's the goddess of magic, all arcane magic works on this process of this weave that she has created. Basically think of it like a giant spiderweb, kinda. Spiderweb / rug kinda deal. So when when arcane caster uses their gestures and their arcane words and their material components, they are touching a part of that weave or using their access, those gestures and things, to access part of that weave, which gives them power, which is what creates the spells. In this case, moving from 3rd edition to 4th edition, they changed how the classes worked and how spells work. Well, in order to lore-wise work with that in Faerun, Faerun's not the only D&D world, but it's consistent in how they change things. So 4th edition was written for people that play MMOs. Essentially, that's basically the taking it out of it. Is if you read the rules for 4th edition, it's basically like, oh, we wrote these for people that play MMOs. So you have things that you can do every time that you wouldn't normally have, things like that. But lore-wise, in Faerun, it was because Mr. died. Huge unleash of magic and the weed falling apart unleashed this blue fire and spell plague, which changed all kinds of things, including the way that people could actually access magic. All magic, not just arcane magic, but divine magic too. So it just changed it changed magic fundamentally. And 4th edition did not do well. So now we have 5th edition D&D in tabletop. So in order to change from 4th edition to 5th edition, something else that happened during the spell plague, going from 3rd edition to 4th edition, was the basically smooshing of two planes that live over top of each other. So you have Toril, which is the world that Faerun exists on. Faerun is a continent on the planet of Toril. Well, then there is also Albir, or Abir, which is basically like a sister version. And they kind of got smushed together, which is how the Dragonborn showed up, which were in 4th edition but not in a previous edition. To change from 4th edition to 5th edition, there is an event called the Sundering, in which case the planes are ripped apart again and back to their own versions. So we still have Dragonborn. We still have some of the things that were cool in 4th edition, like cantrips being all the time, like once per round, instead of like so many per day, like they are in previous editions, like 3rd edition. But then you also have a lot of magic went back to the way it used to be. So your stereotype spells, the way they were in previous editions, like 3rd, 2nd, 1st, a lot of the class stuff went back to the way it was supposed to be, trying to get away from the treating it like an MMO and more treating it back to its roots. So 5th edition is a really good combination of the two. So that is a pretty big tangent on this Book of the Time of Troubles. But it's important to know for the concept of kind of understanding this world. So, Helm retained his divine power and was commanded by Ao to guard the path back to the Outer Planes. Due to his success in this endeavor, blame for much of the Gods' War destruction is laid at his feet. Malar, god of savagery, bestial savagery, battled Nobanian and was hunted by Gwarin Windstrom. Gwarin Windstrom was a ranger deity, minor deity. Shandakul battled and destroyed the avatar of a minor orc deity. Sharis took the form of a favorite concubine in the Pasha of Kalimport and was liberated from the growing influence of Shar by Sune. The Red Knight appeared in Tether, helping the nation defeat monsters raiding from the Wheel Death. Couple notes here. Sharis is a cat deity, like cat humanoid deity, who was being influenced by Shar, the Maiden of Loss. Sune is Lady Firehair, or the goddess of love and beauty and that kind of thing. So now Sharis is like an aspect of Sune currently. The Red Knight used to be a human, I believe, and she achieved godhood, she achieved God at one point. Okay. Or slew Raman, Unthoric god of war, but lost his foe's portfolio to Anhor. Clangan and Silverbeard, dwarven deity, battled Legolas, Anarath over a misunderstanding. Joaquin vanished in custody of her portfolio was claimed by her ally Lyria. The avatar of the godling Yachtu's Vim, half-demon offspring of Bane, was imprisoned under Zental Keep. Gilgam, the god king of Unthur, was slain by his rival Tiamat, ending his 2 millennia rule of that nation. Okay, so a lot of the names in here are Unther gods. Untheric gods are kind of like Egyptian-y. Hence Ramen, like Ra. Gilgiam. Tiamat is the... If you've ever seen the 1980s cartoon, the Dungeons & Dragons cartoon from the 1980s, you'll recognize instantly Tiamat. Tiamat is the evil queen of the dragons. She is the red-bodied dragon that has all of the chromatic heads sticking out. So she's got her red head, or black head, or white head, or blue head. What am I missing? Green. Red, white, blue, green, black. Yeah. She sticks around. She's not Untheric or Untheric. She's just what happened to be there. Clangon and Silverbeard is one of the dwarven deities. Joaquin is a goddess of merchants. Lyra is a goddess of song and patron of bards a lot of times. Bane is an old lawful evil tyrant deity. Baal, the god of murder, was greatly weakened at the time of the Gods' War and existed only as a murderous force that could possess living beings. When Bane challenged Torm, the Black Lord slew all of his assassins in Faerun and absorbed their essence, further weakening Baal. Baal was a god of murder. Oh, it says that, god of murder. Forging an alliance with Merkel, former god of death, Baal kidnapped the mortal Midnight and discovered one of the tablets of fate. Aha! Here's where it's important to know, part of what I already explained. The tablets of fate are where portfolios are stolen. But at the Borskir Bridge, Baal was killed by the mortal Cyric with the sword Godsbane, an avatar of Mask. Mask is a deity of shadows and thieves. While the rest went into the winding water, poisoning it. Lyra, goddess of deception and illusions, not to be confused with Lyra, was slain by Cyric with Godsbane and her portfolio absorbed by him. Cyric later broke Godsbane, greatly weakening Mask. So Cyric thereby becomes from human to becoming a god of murder, deception, illusion. Bane was destroyed by Torm during a battle in Tantris, and his portfolio was given to Cyric by Ao. Torm himself was destroyed in the conflict with Bane, but because at the time his realm was actually Toro, and because he died in the service to his ethos, obedience, and duty, Lord Ao restored him to life and reinstated him as a deity. Merkel's avatar battled Midnight, and she destroyed him. Midnight was a human woman. Midnight became the new incarnation of Mystra, absorbing the essence of the previous goddess from the land. Cyric became the new god of strife, tyranny, murder, and death, holding the portfolios of the slain Bane, Baal, and Merkel. Years later, he lost the portfolio of death to the mortal Kelemvor when he was temporarily driven mad by the artifact he created. The close of the Avatar crisis brought a change to the way deities relate to their followers. By Ao's decree, a deity's power is related to the number and fervor of his worshippers, and so deities could no longer afford to ignore their faithful. While the Gods' War reshaped the land and altered the Faerunian pantheon dramatically, the accountability of divinity is the most powerful legacy of the time of troubles. So, these last couple paragraphs about the events with Cyric and Midnight and Kelemvor and Merkel and all that, they're actually novels. You can still find them. I believe it is just called the Gods' War trilogy. In case you want to see like the actual story itself, or in case you want to read like actually what happened, this is just a quick overview. And then there are other books that involve the time of troubles indirectly in different ways, like when Loth happened to play a couple games of Menza Baranzan with Drow and things like that. Alright, so on to the next book. The War of Light and Darkness. Lord Ao created the universe that now holds the world of Toril. After this creation, there was a period of timeless nothingness, a misty realm of shadows that existed before light and darkness were separated. Eventually, a shadow essence coalesced to form twin beautiful goddesses, polar opposites of each other, one dark and one light. Twin goddesses created the bodies of the heavens, creating Shantea, the embodiment of the world Toril. Toril was lit by the cool radiance of the goddess Selûne, and darkened by the welcoming embrace of the goddess Shar, which we talked about already, but no heat yet existed in this place. Shantea begged for warmth that she might nurture life and living creatures upon her form, and this caused the twin goddesses to become divided in intent. The two fought, and from their divine conflict, the deities of war, disease, murder, death, and others were created. Selûne reached beyond the universe to a plane of fire, using pure flame to ignite one of the heavenly bodies so that Shantea would be warmed. Shar became enraged and began to snuff out all light and warmth in the universe. Desperate and greatly weakened, Selûne tore the divine essence of magic from her body and hurled it at her sister, tearing through Shar's form and pulling with it like energy from the Dark Twin. The energy formed Mistral, the goddess of magic. It's the first goddess of magic. Composed of light and dark magic, but favoring her first mother, Mistral balanced the battle enough to establish an uneasy truce between the two sisters. Shar, who remained powerful, nursed a bitter loneliness in the darkness and plotted her revenge. Selûne waxed and waned with the light, but drew strength from her allied daughters and sons, and even interloper deities from other planes. Their battle continues to this day. Now, Selûne is the moon in Faerun, and there are minor moons that follow after it, basically like other satellites, that are called the Tears of Selûne. Fun fact. Wind by the Fireside is a poem that has been changed much over the ages. That much is clear to those who have studied it, but it is not known how much it has been altered or why the alterations have taken place. Many scholars assume that these changes are representative of the natural evolution of languages, as well as modern innovations of style. Little is known about the actual history of the poem, though some believe it has some bearing upon the creator races of Faerun. Others have speculated that it may have been written as an ode by a follower to some ancient religion. The popular version, sung in Neverwinter, is noted as the following, though other regions have variations in theme. I don't think I've ever seen this before. So as you shiver in the cold and dark, look into the fire and see in its spark, my eye watching over you. As you walk in the wind's whistling claws, listen past the howling of the wolf's jaws. My song comes to you. And when you're lost in trackless snow, look up high where the eagles go. My star shines for you. In deep, dark mine or in crumbling peak, hear the words of love I speak. My thoughts are with you. You are not forsaken. You are not forgotten. The north cannot swallow you. The snows cannot bury you. I will come for you, Faerun will grow warmer, and the gods will smile, but oh, my love, guard yourself well. All this may not happen for a long, long while. Yep, never seen that before. Origin of magic. Long ago, magic was more raw and potent than it is today. The great civilizations of the creator races were based on endless experimentation with these energies, and during their long rules they created many new forms of life. The cruel and decadent creator races chose to release their monstrous mistakes rather than destroy them. Most died in the jungles, yet many lived, and as thought awakened in them, they hid from their creators. When the end came at last, it was they, not the old races, who seized control of Faerun. And so it was that the first of the elves, the dragons, the goblin races, and an endless list of creatures of New Age took possession of their heritage. Their creators, the ancestors of the lizard folk, bullywugs, Aarakocra, declined into savage barbarism, never to rise again. Sages speculate about the overnight destruction of the creator races. There are wildly diverging theories, but all agree that a rapid climate change occurred, creating a world unsuitable to them. Many believe the change resulted from a cataclysm the races unleashed upon themselves. Proponents of this history point to the star mounts in the high forest, whose origins are most likely magical and otherworldly. The elves believe that around this time the greater and lesser powers manifested themselves, aiding the new races and confounding the survivors of the creator races. There was civilization in the north during this time period, yet little more than tantalizingly vague myths survive. Huh. Luskan's Arcane Brotherhood. Now, I talked about a little bit about this earlier. That Luskan has a great tree, the Tower of the Arcane, that each branch looks in a different direction. There's a wizard in each direction that looks to that direction and rules over any like research they might do in that area. And then there's an archmage that oversees everything and lives in the central tower at this time period. Later on, the whole tower explodes. The city's overrun by pirates. Eventually the tower starts getting rebuilt, but that's not until newer novels and not until 5th edition. The tower explodes after the Spell Plague, but before the Sundering, so technically in 4th edition of D&D. Anyway, the dangers of Ilisk pale in comparison to the host tower of the Arcane, the home of the Arcane Brotherhood. Ilisk is a area underneath the graveyard in Luskan where there are a lot of undead. This magically created stone structure is built to resemble a giant tree or an open human hand. It rises into the central spire surrounded by 4 spires at the points of the compass. All are of equal height, and each bristles with many lesser spires, balconies, and branched turrets. Okay, I didn't realize the books in here are talking about all the stuff that I know already. The Arcane Brotherhood is a mercantile company and spellcasters guild. It maintains several safe houses in Luskan and other cities in the north, and at least one fortress somewhere in the mountains north and east of Luskan. The host tower, however, is the seat of its strength. Hard information on the upper echelons of the Arcane Brotherhood is very difficult to come by. It is clear, though, that some of the senior wizards have recently been destroyed or trapped in forms from which they can't escape, communicate, or work magic. Some have been moved behind the scenes, and some have left the Brotherhood to pursue their own aims. Lichdom, mastery of other lands or planes of existence, and so on. Even still, it should be noted that current activities of the Zentarum, the Cult of the Dragon, and the Red Wizards of Thay reveal that they haven't managed to place agents or even spies in any positions of importance within the Brotherhood. That's kind of impressive. The Brotherhood has been known to change with menacing rapidity, as its internal feuds tend to be deadly. Travelers are advised to avoid even coming to the attention of the evil manipulative group. That's true. This mention here, the Zentarum are merchants, if anybody asks them. During this time, they are split, and one of the group is led by like a cleric of Bane. The Cult of the Dragon are a bunch of arcane spellcasters that believe the world should be ruled by Dracoliches. That's a dragon, typically chromatic, that has been turned into a lich. So you take one of the most powerful creatures there is, and that can also cast a lot of spells. And then you make it a lich, which will never die, and makes it even more even stronger and harder to kill. And they think that these things should just rule over the entirety of Toro. Most often you see them in purple robes. The Red Wizards of Thay, completely evil. Their entire country, Thay, is a mageocracy. So mages rule everything. If you're not a mage, or if you're not a wizard, it has to be wizard. Nobody cares about the sorcerers there. If you're not a wizard, you're not important. If you're not Mulan race, nobody cares. Because the nobles tend to be Mulan and wizards. And if you're not a specialized wizard in one of the particular schools, then you're also not important. You also, only the red wizards are allowed to wear the color red in the entire country. Their de facto leader, who is supposed to be part of the council but is actually manipulating the entirety of the council, is a lich, says Tam, who we may or may not see mention of later. He's kind of important. So yeah, Arcane Brotherhood. The Ghost of Coneybury. I want to say I've heard this story before. The Haunted Grove is the chief landmark in the Coneybury area. The Ghost of Neverwinter Wood, that's why, is actually a banshee known as Agatha. This name is almost certainly a corruption of the elven surname Oglatha, which means winter breeze in one of the older elven dialects. She lairs in the Grove of Neverwinter Wood, northwest of Coneybury. Her haunt is at the end of the path, whose entrance is marked by a stand of birch trees. At one time, Agatha's lair was guarded by a magic mirror spell. This was set up to hide her real location and give her time to hurl spells at intruders. The heroes Drizzt Do'Urden and Wulfgar, son of Bornegar, shattered these defenses. These two adventurers then stole her treasure, which was a magic mask that let him change his shape. Let him change his appearance. The Banshee had amassed her treasure hoard by thieving in the night, slaying travelers and pillaging old tombs and ruins. Since her wealth was stolen, she was taken to looting the Dissarin again, trying to rebuild her riches. She also seeks revenge for the theft, and so considers any adventurers fitting recipients of death. Nice. Agatha's lair has new defenses now. Her spells enable her to charm the people of Coneybury into digging pitfall traps along the path to her lair. These servants have also been seen guarding her haunt. Other than this, Agatha doesn't bother the folk of Coneybury. Rather, she views them as allies. Agatha often uses her spells to bring them beasts for food in the worst winter weather. She also slaughters orcs and brigands who venture too near to the village. Folk in Coneybury regard Agatha almost affectionately as their guardian and friend. They often talk about her and speculate on what she's up to. If you want the story of Drizzt and Wulfgar, and their interaction with Agatha when they stole the mask, you want the Servant of the Shard novel. Uthgard Barbarians. The Uthgard are a race of black-haired, blue-eyed humans who are descendants of the Northmen, Netherese, and a few savage tribes. The Uthgard are presently divided into scattered tribes, each named after the beast totems which Uthgard conquered. Black Lion, Thunder Beast, Red Tiger, Blue Bear, Great Worm, and Sky Pony, Tree Ghost, Black Raven, Griffin, and Grey Wolf. Although civilization has come north in the waves throughout history, much of the Uthgard land is wild and untamed. Their lands extend north into the mountains of the spine of the world, south to Stonebridge, east to Coldwood, and west to Neverwinter Wood. Although some tribes have embraced agriculture and fixed habitations, the Uthgard have few stable villages. Most tribes wander the wilderness in small clans or family groups and live within a few weeks' travel of their ancestors' mounds. Tradition is the centerpiece of Uthgard life, and this blind devotion to their heritage helps keep them savage and primitive. Strength is everything to the Uthgard, and civilization is a weakness that cannot be tolerated. Among the Uthgard, men are warriors and hunters, women tend to gathering and family needs. They have no written language and no art beyond the geometric carvings and clothing decorations. Their religion and philosophy focuses on war, plunder, and survival. Their superstitious nature extends to a deep distrust of magic, particularly arcane magic. The Uthgard have little to do with city folk other than as prey, though some tribes have made civilized alliances. Both lone travelers and large caravans are considered ripe for plunder, though they attack civilized folk and frequently fight amongst themselves. They're quick to unite, even with non-Uthgard, against their ancestral enemy, the orcs. Last one. Port Lelast. Yes, you actually are supposed to say Lelast. The village of 700 is found on High Road between Luskan and Neverwinter, and sides with the latter in the feud between the two cities. 50 men-at-arms from the city of Skilled Hands, bolstered by 30 of the Lord's Alliance troops, aid the local militia in guarding the town from brigand raids and the harassment of Luskan. The Lord's Alliance troops are mainly from El Toril and Baldur's Gate, so that a Luskan attack would risk war with two economically powerful cities. Port Lelast is a city of skilled stonecutters and has a fine harbor. The stonecutters work at quarries on the coastal headlands just south of the village. Other than harborage and stonecutting, there is little else to recommend it to the traveler today, for it is a tense, suspicious place, always expecting treachery or attack from Luskan. Today, Port Lelast is ruled by the soldier Kandrak, who recently replaced Hermos Dothwintle as first captain. Hermos was killed during the battle to protect Port Lelast from Sahagwan invasion. In the distant past, when Luskan was held by orcs in Durgar, Port Lelast was a thriving city. It was the last port in human hands as one sailed north, hence the name. In those days, it was home to 14,000 miners and explorers eager to find gold, gems, and all the rest of the fabled mineral wealth of the north. The city was eventually smashed by orc waves, and shattered remnants of the old walls still ring it, though much stone has been used to repair the local homes or has been taken away and sold. Port Lelast's outer reaches are overgrown by scrub forests and are used as gardens or graveyards. Okay, so that's all the books. We're gonna put as many back as we can. Because we're carrying too much. Okay, so we've gotten rid of all the books. Oh, and it's 10 o'clock already. Okay, so we're gonna go out here. We are in the temple. Is there a save option? Save. Sokar Glaive Fist. Alrighty, friends. Well, that is it for today. That was a lot of reading. But the lore of Faerun is important. It is a very rich world that Wizards of the Coast, the creators of D&D, have put a lot of time in, as well as a lot of authors have put a lot of time in it. So, we made it. We're level 3. Yep, we got 2 levels. And are about to start, essentially, the main story. We're going to go look for the Waterdavian creatures. And we will get to that tomorrow. I will be back tomorrow at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. Probably not as many books. And we'll pick up from here. So until next time, all videos will be loaded up to YouTube in the next day or two, maybe even later tonight. If you like what you see here and you want to see more of Neverwinter Nights, we'll be doing this every Wednesday and Thursday until the game's completed. Tuesdays are still Overwatch. Friday through Sunday is still going to be Final Fantasy XIV. So in the meantime, if you like what we see, please don't hesitate to hit that follow button. It doesn't cost anything. If you're watching this later on YouTube, please hit that subscribe button. And until next time, and I see you again, catchphrase.